they were forgiven, because there is no person or circumstance so lost that the grace of God cannot transform. One might think that Jonah was happy with this outcome. What preacher would not want an entire city to be converted with a single message? But Jonah was very angry at the outcome. In chapter 4, 1-3 he tells us, "But this displeased Jonah greatly, and he became angry. So he prayed to the Lord in this way, 'O Lord, wasn't this what I said when I was still in my country? That is why I was ready to flee to Tarshish, because I well knew that you are a kind and compassionate God, slow to anger and full of love, who changes your mind and does not destroy. So now, Lord, I beg you to take my life. I'd rather die than continue living.'" Jonah's anger at God's grace towards the Assyrians was such that he wanted to die. He no longer found meaning in life. God, again, in a gracious way, teaches Jonah another lesson. While Jonah was furious, God made a plant grow to give him shade from the scorching sun. Jonah felt relief, and was happy for the plant and the shade. But then, God arranged a worm to damage the plant and it withered. And Jonah again began to complain and have a desire to die because he no longer had his plant to protect himself from the sun. God then tells him in chapter 4, 10-11, "You pity a plant that, without any effort on your part, grew in one night and perished the next. And about Nineveh, a great city where there are more than 120,000 people who 580 do not know their right from their left, and so many cattle, shouldn't I feel sorry for them?" Here again was the lesson of grace for Jonah. If you feel sorry for and lament over a plant that you did not plant or cultivate and that is so transitory and insignificant, how much more am I, a God of grace, going to feel sorry for 120 people and so many animals? Did the inhabitants of Nineveh deserve destruction? Yes. Did the inhabitants of Nineveh deserve God's forgiveness? No. So, what explains why they have not been destroyed? One word: grace. God is a kind and compassionate God, slow to anger and full of love. The good news is that there is no person or circumstance so lost that God's grace cannot transform. God showed his grace by sending his Son Jesus Christ to die for sins. With his life, death and resurrection on behalf of undeserving people like you and me, by grace, we can now have a growing relationship with God and be changed from hopeless cases into children of God and co-heirs with Christ. We must learn to live and relate to God, knowing and recognizing that the foundation and basis of our relationship with him is not something we have done or do, but is only his grace. If we have a relationship with him, it is because he gave us in Jesus Christ this undeserved privilege, only because he is a kind and compassionate God, slow to anger and full of love. We must live knowing that there are no hopeless cases with a gracious God. Look around. Look to your right and to your left. Look in a mirror and you will see a hopeless case if it had not been for the God of grace.